What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your weekend. Now, having a look at what Bitcoin has actually done over the past month, essentially has lost this major support right here, right where we had all of the bounces off of this consolidation, which some people can even say that maybe this was just giant distribution, something that we really haven't seen in Bitcoin's history. I'll get into that in just a second. And we also lost this support right here, where we did have this wick down to around that $24,000 level. We had a slight bounce, couldn't stay above it, and Bitcoin got as low as $17,600 on some of the exchanges, right? But what I want to talk about today is, regardless of whether you believe in the 4-year cycle for Bitcoin or you do think that this is still just a lengthening cycle, there is the elephant in the room that we need to address, because a lot of people have gotten very accustomed to the way that Bitcoin moves, the previous cycles, and there is this assumption, and I was even guilty of it myself, right? Especially when we were up in, these areas up here, when we had this bounce down and then we came back up. So we do need to talk about that elephant in the room and how it severely affects Bitcoin's models, right? Most of the Bitcoin models are broken. We saw stock to flow very far off from that. And I do want to discuss why we could be living through something historical that actually could change the course of Bitcoin forever. Now, part of this is a warning, but at the same time, there is a silver lining to this dark, stormy cloud that we're in right now for Bitcoin, right? I want to talk about that, and there is something that will change it forever. Now, it's not just regulation, which we're going to go on and talk about the regulation aspect in a little bit, but I want to also talk about some Bitcoin possibilities. And for fun, I think we should end on some price predictions, because there are some people out there who have some extremely high prices and some extremely low prices for Bitcoin as well. And as you guys know, I'm obviously going to go over the short-term price action, because let's be honest, volatility is coming, it is imminent, and there will be a lot of opportunities for trading. So remember, even if we are in a bear market, which I think at this point we can all agree that we are, there are still lots of opportunities to make money in this space. Not just with trading, there's also some opportunities with altcoins, believe it or not. In the previous bear market, I saw altcoins fall 99%, and there was a handful of them doing 10x, 50x's even in a bear market. So it's not like it can't happen. It's just that you have to focus, maybe do a little bit more research, and you can't just, close your eyes and throw the dart anymore. That's not going to work, right? So that's what we're going to go over in today's video. I'm going to keep this one a little bit shorter than usual. There's not too much news to go over, but I do think that it's time we have this discussion. All right, so if that sounds good to you, thank you so much again for all of the support. Everyone who's been liking, subscribing, and commenting. You guys are amazing. You're the best. And remember, guys, legends and heroes are technically born in the bear market, right? Remember that. So let's dive in and let's have a look. Now, ultimately right here, we are still holding this upward sloping support that we put in back here. You can see we had all of this support, get rid of the COVID crash, and we are still in fact on track. And currently, if I zoom in, we could see that we are just crawling along right here, but we haven't really had this major, awesome, sort of dead cat bounce. And another thing which we'll go over is the volume has been a little bit concerning. And it's not just the fact that, we're not getting volume. We actually are getting a decent amount of volume, not as much as I would have liked to have seen, but there is something else that could be a little concerning. Now, obviously, as I told you guys, I still think there's a possibility that regardless, we still have this massive downward sloping trend right here. And you can see we've never gone up to it again, right? So I do believe that it is possible for Bitcoin to sort of bounce around in this area. I do think the volatility is going to start to slow down as we approach the end of this year. And then I think we're really going to have that big move for Bitcoin. So what I'm trying to say is in the next few months, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for trading if you're trading. If you don't want to trade, then of course, dollar cost average. If you want to learn, check out the tutorial popping up above, and make sure you get subscribed to the channel. Anytime I see anything on the chart, whether it be an important support or a resistance or some kind of a pattern setting up, you guys know that I'm always going to let you know about that. And remember, you can take advantage of these opportunities. There's $23,000 in bonuses. Check out the links below, and all you have to do is sign up. Takes 30 seconds, make a deposit, and you can literally trade with absolutely free money, right? But getting back to the chart right here, you can see that we are above the heart line of this downwards parallel trend, right? Now, I took this out right here, and actually, if you guys really want to see this, it's actually pretty cool how it works out. If you do extend this trend up to the top, you could see that we still have the same concept where we have resistance, resistance here. Can you guys see what I'm talking about right here? Okay, we have a little bit of an outlier, right? Resistance, resistance, and look at this. When we wick down, we hit the support perfectly, right? So this is important, and why it's important is because it's showing us that we are, in fact, still in a downtrend. But let me put it back where it was, because I want to show you right now, we are having a bounce off that level. Now, keep in mind, there was a little bit right here. If we come back to this level, there was this consolidation, very, very small consolidation for Bitcoin. It really only lasted maybe a week or so. So that might provide some, issue for Bitcoin. If I just actually draw the line out right there, you can see that would take us to that's the top of it. Here's the bottom of it right here. And you can see if we actually zoom in, that level for Bitcoin is right around $22,000, right? So we are trying to approach that level. We may have a little bit of rejection there, maybe come back down to 28, but I still don't think it was enough to really provide a lot of resistance for Bitcoin. It only lasted about a week, right? So that would be one candle on the weekly chart. So I still think that the more likely scenario for Bitcoin is to come up here to around that $24,000 level. And yeah, there are higher levels that we could go to, 30,000 being my highest target. But really, what we're going to have to start dealing with if we get up to that level is this massive downward sloping resistance, right? Now, considering we are in a bear market, hypothetically, if you're, just using percentages here on probabilities, that would be the area to short Bitcoin is when we get to these levels. Now, obviously, I'm assuming there'll be some kind of a fake out. Algos do this all the time. They try to stop people out of positions, but most likely that will continue the downtrend. Remember, the trend is your friend. Downtrends are not our friend, but it is our friend because it's showing us that we're in a downtrend. So until we can break above this, we unfortunately have to still consider the possibility of bearish continuations for Bitcoin. Now, as soon as that's invalidated, then yes, we will get bullish again. But until we break that, you really can't be bullish. I'm just being honest. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing here. Now, outside of this massive, obviously, this is the bigger trend right here. If we do zoom in a little bit, you'll see there was this sort of smaller trend here, right? And we have 3 points of contact. And once you get 3 points of contact, that is a confirmed trend, right? So technically right here, we only have 2 on the bigger one. So, we'll see if we hit that a third time. But this one right here, we have 3 points of contact. So as Bitcoin approaches the $24,000 level that I spoke about, we are still going to have to fight through this area right here. So whereas previously Bitcoin had these supports that we were, hitting them, bouncing off like a trampoline, bouncing off, bouncing off. Well, now we've fallen through the trampoline, right? Because if you punch a wall enough times or you jump on a trampoline enough times, it's going to break. You're going to fall through. And now that's going to become the ceiling. That's going to become the resistance, right? So now it's a game of can Bitcoin actually get through these resistances? And like I said, get subscribed. We will be going over these as time goes by. Now, the good news short term is that we are in fact still being supported by this 200 weekly moving average, right? We've gone over this time and time again on the channel. If we zoom in over here, we're not quite above it yet. We need to get up to about $22,400. And usually, historically speaking, as I've said on this channel, we tend to get back above it within the next week. It's already Friday, guys. We only have 2 more days left. And, traditional stocks, and if you're looking at CME futures, they're going to, they close, right? So traditional markets don't trade on the weekends. Bitcoin trades 24/7. So we could technically have 2 more days for this candle close. But if we don't get above this level, if we don't close above basically 22,000, the exact level is $22,421. If we don't close above that level by the end of this weekend, then essentially we can say, unfortunately, pretty much every Bitcoin model is broken at this point. And then there's no point in analyzing previous history for Bitcoin anymore. And now we're just going to have to take it level by level, day by day. And you can see the one glaring problem, okay, this is a huge, huge problem right here, is the fact that during all of these moves to the downside where we did break the 200 weekly, you could see that it was followed by all of this green, right? We had a big capitulation candle, it was red, and then down here, you could see right here, we were followed by green, right? What did we do over here? Same thing, right? We had this red candle, and it was immediately followed by a green candle. We go over here to the COVID crash, red candle, immediately followed by not just a green candle, but it was also followed by green volume. You see this volume indicator down here, right? Same thing even happened here, guys. Look at this. Wasn't as much volume, but still, we had this big red capitulation candle potentially, even though, yes, we did go sideways still for a little bit of time. Ultimately, we still had 3 weeks of green. Now, if I fast forward to today, we are having green, but we're not really having the volume that we usually see. Now, what can we attribute this to? Well, there's a few different things. Number one being the fact of what the Fed is doing, which actually is the biggest elephant in the room, guys. Now, we're going to talk about this in just a second, but you can see we're not getting that. Now, why is that? Well, it's because of a lot of reasons, guys. Obviously, the Fed is fighting. People don't have that money being injected into the system. They're not getting stimulus checks. It's costing more money, right? Rates are going up, so it's becoming more expensive to borrow money. And if you're looking at all the prices rising, you know, the standard, I saw a thing like groceries are average 30 to 50% higher than what they were last year. I don't have to tell you what gas is doing. So the fact that we're not having as much money coming into the system, it's more expensive to live, and we have the Fed being hawkish. This is putting people in a situation where they have to make a choice between, do I invest in speculative assets like Bitcoin and stocks, or do I pay my bills, feed my kids, and put gas in the car so I can get to the job, so I can make the money, so I can do all of those things? That's the situation that we're in right now. Not to mention the fact that we have issues like Celsius. We have issues like Three Arrows Capital, right? Potentially getting margin called. This is adding more selling pressure. We've also seen miners capitulating. This is a hurricane of negativity, essentially, for Bitcoin. And I'm just going to spell it out the way that it is. Now, doom and gloom, you know, is Bitcoin dead? Is it never going to recover? No. But there is that possibility that the 4-year cycle does get broken, okay? And the one thing that we have to look at is we have all this history of Bitcoin right here. And having a look, what do we have for Bitcoin, right? We have blow off top, dump, blow off top, dump, blow off top, dump, with most of these, you know, being between 70 to 85% drawdown. Same thing here, blow off top, 85% correction, blow off top. And actually, what did we get here in this sort of mid-cycle correction? 72% down, right? So, you know, to say that this couldn't be some giant mid-cycle correction, it could be, but this is the first time in Bitcoin's history that we didn't see a blow off top. We saw more of a distribution. You see what I'm saying right here, guys? This is actually distribution up in this area right here. So it is a different ball game, and we have to accept that. We have to move on. And, you know, one of the worst things that you could do is not be able to adapt, right? Look at how much money you could have made if you were able to adapt during all of the trends that we had, right? Back in 2017, 18, we had all the layer one smart contracts, and then we had DeFi, we had NFTs, we had metaverse, right? And if you were able to catch those trends and get into those trends early, you were able to make money. And there are going to be opportunities, even if Bitcoin crawls sideways for 2 to 3 years. I'm not going to stop making videos, and I'm going to present you with those opportunities. Right now, I don't really see any that are jumping out at me. I'll let you know if I see any, but you know, there will be opportunities to make money. And of course, you could trade, you could short, right? Because we see how fast the price falls when it shorts. But what I'm trying to say is that Bitcoin has never, in its history, in its 13 years, ever seen a situation like what the Fed is doing. So, you know, trying to say, oh, Bitcoin is just going to react and act the same way that it's acted all these times, you can't say that. The macro environment is different, and you need to be able to adjust your thinking and adapt to the situations, right? It's Darwinism, right? If you can't adapt, you get left behind, or you get killed, or you get eaten by a bigger, smarter, more adaptive creature. And that's what we need to do, is adapt to these markets so we can learn, build, and make the best decisions possible. Now, I still believe, and it's more than just a belief, it's almost like a fact, but you know, I can't say a fact about something I don't know. But guys, Bitcoin is going to go to 100,000, 500,000, a million in our lifetime, but it's taking time. It's going to take time for people to realize the value of Bitcoin, right? I mean, everyone talks about gold. Gold hasn't been able to fight inflation. It took gold 10 years just to get back to the same price that it was. I mean, come on, that's not an inflation hedge. And you could say the same thing about Bitcoin, but keep in mind, this is short term, because Bitcoin is a very, very volatile asset. Long term, everything will be great. Short term, the Fed is going to do what they need to do to fix their correction or to correct their problem. And, the biggest problem with the Fed essentially is that these guys were very irresponsible. They're very irresponsible. They pumped 40% of all the money into existence into the US in just 2 years and then instantly put the brakes on. Everybody slams forward on the bus. We hit our heads on the seat. We're all having concussions. And now they're like, oh, you know what? We're not going to put any more money in. We're going to start raising rates aggressively. We're going to stop buying back these junk bonds, right? And this is just too much extreme, way too fast. It's going to take a little bit to correct this. However, if you can stick it out, if you can, waiting is the hardest part. It's time, right? Everybody, every day you wake up, oh, the price is still the same. You wake up the next day, oh, the price is still the same, right? It's just time. And remember, this is a proven fact, and this goes back all the way to the beginning of the history of the stock market, whether or not we were having a recession, a depression, rate hikes, lowering interest rates, doesn't matter. If you just look at the broader picture, always time in the market beats trying to time the markets. And it is going to start getting a little crazy in the US. The US SEC chair, Gary Gensler, is pushing for a single cryptocurrency regulation rulebook that is going to bring together all related agencies. He confirmed that he's working on a memorandum of understanding with the CFTC on setting up formal regulatory deals to guarantee the safety and transparency of the market. This may be the precursor to the end of the Wild West for crypto. We know that Bitcoin and Ethereum are in fact treated as property, as commodities, whatever you want to call it. But these other tokens are probably going to fall into the category of unregistered securities. Now, if that does happen, well, there goes a lot of the fun, especially if you're over in the US. I mean, you could do what you want, but just be prepared to deal with those consequences, right? Right now, we're still in that gray area. We may have some opportunities, but after that, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to pay your taxes. You got to be a law-abiding citizen. I mean, I'm not telling anyone to break the law. That's not what I'm making this video for. But he does go on to say, I'm talking about one rule book on the exchange that protects all trading pairs, regardless if it's a security token versus security token versus commodity token versus commodity token. He doesn't care. We need an ultimate framework. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, this is terrible. This is horrible. How could they do this? No, this is great. This is amazing for things that actually have value, for things that really do provide true utility, such as Bitcoin. Ethereum, right? Ethereum is a gas token, right? You have to use that token to pay gas on the network. And I know that a lot of tokens, they try to say that, or actually, Ethereum's technically not a token, it's a coin, but you know what I mean. A lot of these tokens, they are in fact unregistered securities. That is the reality of the situation. So, between the fact that we haven't seen the Fed act the way that we are, and we are going to eventually see this regulation coming out very soon, it is going to change things. It's going to change Bitcoin as we know it. These cycles may not play out the same way that they used to, but ultimately, if you ask me my opinion, I think it's going to still be great for Bitcoin and probably pretty good for Ethereum as well. And probably some other blue chips, will find their way into that category. So it's not all doom and gloom. We knew it was coming. It was inevitable. And now here it is and it's happening, right? So we just have to embrace it. Now let's talk about some possibilities, right? So on the negative side, right? You have Ian Harnett. He's co-founder of Chief Investment Officer at Absolute Strategy Research, and he says that Bitcoin could drop as low as $13,000. Now, just to point this out, we do know that Bitcoin has had, these historical, 84% drops. We had 84% in the 2017 to 2018. And even in this little mid-cycle correction right here, we still fell about 72%. Now, on the lows right here, Bitcoin has so far to the bottom fallen 75. We're currently sitting around 78. Now, keep in mind, if we were to actually follow like we have previously and actually go down 85%, that actually brings Bitcoin to about $10,000. Now, is that possible? It could be. It was one thing to say it's not possible when we had the economic situation that we did have. And honestly, if you had asked me if Bitcoin was going to 10,000, I would say absolutely not. That's impossible. Why would it ever go that low? But given the circumstances and all the things that I just named, this really doesn't have anything to do with technicals. It just has to do with the fact that it costs more money to borrow money, and prices of commodities and shopping and gas and groceries and things like that are going up, okay? And if we have a situation of stagflation potentially, where's the money going to come from? Are people really going to be risking it right now? Some people have to sell Bitcoin right now just to pay their bills. They're not selling it because they want to. They're selling it because they have to, right? I have to sell Bitcoin sometimes. I don't like selling Bitcoin, but I have to live as well. I have to pay my bills. I have a mortgage. I'm doing construction in my backyard. I need to get the money from somewhere, right? I do have a cash position, but, occasionally I have to sell a Bitcoin or two. It's not that I'm against Bitcoin. I'm not, you have to do what you have to do. It's just the times, desperate times, right? So that's what we're dealing with right now. But let's talk about some of the positives, right? Mark Palmer, an analyst of BTIG, forecasts that Bitcoin might more than quadruple from its current level to about 95,000. He says that this won't happen until 2023. Anthony Scaramucci says that we are definitely at oversold levels, right? He's the founder of Skybridge Capital. And CZ from Binance, giving one of the vaguest predictions of all time, says that we could see a close above the high of 70,000 within a few months to 2 years. So if you can just wait 4 months to 2 years, we should be good, right? I mean, basically at that point, that's a weatherman forecast, right? 50% chance it's going to rain, right? We don't really know. But, if you have a look at Bob Lucas, what he pointed out, if you break it into the 3-month chart, you have these 4-year cycles, all three topped at months 33, 34, and 34, and the two bottoms were at 46, right? He said, zoom out and let time work. So if you do believe that maybe all this Fed nonsense is just that, just nonsense, then ultimately you would be looking at a bottom around the 46th or 47th month, right? So, that would put us, if we scroll down here, somewhere essentially around the third quarter of this year. So yeah, we could have a bottom sometime third quarter of this year. That's possible. I did say personally, and this is just a hunch, okay? I don't have any professional insight. I don't have any inside information, but I do believe that around September, October, we might see the Fed start to just ease up a bit, okay? That's what I'm thinking. Once they kind of get around those levels that they're looking for, they might take a break, maybe not raise rates for a little bit, and then maybe just a couple smaller ones and then chill. Because remember, they don't want to crash the entire economy. They just want to correct it. But the problem is that they let it get way too far, way too fast. And to correct that, especially as fast as they're trying to do it, could cause some short-term issues for Bitcoin, right? So essentially, guys, that's all I want to talk about. And you can see right here this article that says Bitcoin volume indicators show no buying power on markets, but it's totally fine. It's not really totally fine. I mean, we'd like to see that buying come in. But ultimately, as I said, if I leave you with one thing, legends and heroes are made in the bear markets. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. These don't last forever. Even if we do go into a recession or stagflation or whatever you think is going to happen, history shows us that you don't just go forever. Eventually, the bears turn into bulls. Eventually, the dust settles, right? And everything just resets. And when that happens, if you can make it through the next 4 months to 2 years, according to CZ, you are going to be sitting so unbelievably pretty, so unbelievably in an amazing position that when that time comes, you're going to thank yourself. And, it's going to feel good. It's going to feel good. It feels good. It doesn't feel good when you're going through the bear market, but it does feel good afterwards. I've been through a few of them, and I'll tell you what, they're not fun. They're not pretty. But man, does it feel amazing when you come out of it. And just think about it. Think about that reward, right? Think about the journey until you get there. I love you guys. You're awesome. We're going to keep making videos. We're going to keep looking at, all the different charts. There's lots of opportunities for trading. I'm going to keep my eyes on some altcoins. There's also sales. There's some sales that are available, right? And if you can get into those sales, usually they're kind of designed to make money when they hit the spot. So that's why I try to tell you guys if you can get into those, And of course, there will be an altcoin that comes out. Maybe there will be something that actually has a really good value proposition. But just remember that even things that have legitimate value propositions, things in the real world, like Netflix and Peloton, and, I have a Peloton in my basement. I have a subscription to Netflix. I watch Netflix, not every day really, but, I kind of watch it a couple times a week, maybe. Point being, these are useful things that people use. They have, right? But stocks aren't reflecting it. Tesla's down, Apple's down. Are you watching me on an Apple phone right now? Maybe a Samsung phone, right? So it's not like they stopped making what they made. They stopped being good at what they're doing. It's just right now, a lot of people are scared to put their money into those speculative investments, which is why if you can take the opportunity to dollar cost average, maybe 10% a week, maybe work an extra job, maybe sell some things, have a garage sale, right? You guys know what I did back in 2017. I sold all my cars. I sold all of my, I had records, valuable records. I sold them and I rode a bike. I rode a bicycle, literally. And I didn't spend money on anything for 2 years. For 2 years, I did nothing but just dollar cost average Bitcoin with every single paycheck, my entire paycheck. My house went into foreclosure. Now, I don't suggest you do that, especially if you have a family. Don't do that. But look what happened, guys. Look where it got me. I mean, obviously, it worked out very well, and I know a lot of other people that it worked out well for. So you know your risk tolerance. You know what you need to do. I'm not telling you to mortgage the house. Don't do that. I'm not saying that. But if you can take this opportunity over the next few years to really dollar cost average and build your positions and also learn, do some research, maybe read some books on trading, make sure you read the Bitcoin Standard, you are going to come out of this the hero and the legend. I love you. You're awesome. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully I'll be able to get videos out. There's a lot of stuff been going on. That's why I've just been way too busy to get in the studio, but I wanted to give you guys this update, let you know where we're at. So my name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Make sure that you check these videos out right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.